Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. Tasmania's education sector is crying out for help, claiming an alarming number of state schools are critically underfunded. The Education Union now calling for the state government to step up, while the opposition continues calls for a statewide inquiry.
Michael, who has spent more than 20 years as a teacher, says he's deeply worried about the future of the state's public schools.
Without adequate funding, we're always going to be playing catch up, and we're never going to be able to get to the needs of all of our kids and make sure that they get the education that they deserve.
He says Tasmanian children are the ones bearing the brunt.
They're our future in Tasmania, and we're selling them short by not funding them properly.
The Australian Education Union calling out the brutal underfunding of the Tasmanian public sector, placing 109 miniature schools on Parliament lawns to demonstrate a larger problem.
In Tasmania, the shortfall in terms of school funding is $119 million every year.
In the wake of a damning report that revealed Tasmania's failing educational outcomes, Labor is continuing its calls for a statewide inquiry.
There's been lots of reviews, very little action. But that's why we need to have a really holistic look at what is going on across our entire system.
For some, they simply cannot afford to wait.
Our members don't want to see another inquiry take 2 years and then another 4 to 5 years to roll out. That's a generation of students that would miss out on what we already know they need.
Liberal Minister Erica Betts says extra funding doesn't necessarily equal better educational outcomes for the state, but that the government is committed to state school education. It's now calling for the federal government to come to the table.
On matters of education, hopefully we can come together and get the extra funding that is needed.
Lily Thompson, 7 Tasmania News.
Millions of dollars in bus fares will stay in passengers' pockets. A new public transport initiative halving travel prices for all Tasmanians for 13 months. Metro says it's ready to welcome more users, despite continued scrutiny about the reliability and certainty of its buses.
The Transport Minister on the bus goes round and round.
Starting on the 1st of June, Tasmanians that catch public transport will have half-price fares.
The discount applying to all public bus services and the River Derwent Ferry, with the state government footing the $9 million bill in a bid to ease city congestion.
Help people that are isolated to get around where they need to go, to get to work and to access services.
Metro ready and waiting to take on additional passengers.
We've got capacity in our network currently, so there's a lot of services that have half a bus load of people, so with this, hopefully they're full.
TassieLink expects to see a 25% increase in riders touching on as more people explore Tassie's hidden gems.
Richmond's a good example where people come in, catch our bus out to Richmond and use their facilities out there.
While other would-be users are left in the dark, Metro still limiting some of its services due to safety concerns after alleged rock-throwing incidents.
It means nothing. If you don't have a bus service, what's the point of having a half-price bus fare?
While it continues to grapple with a driver shortage, whether buses can show up remains the big question.
There's no doubt that service reliability and certainty is a major factor in people using public transport. Metro is doing everything it possibly can.
With 69 bus stops and shelters also set to be installed statewide. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
It's tools down for a Burnie apprentice right now in the air on his way to Melbourne to live out his AFL dream. Geordie Payne bouncing back from the disappointment of missing out in November's draft, selected by the Roos as pick 1 last night.
Pick number 1, North Melbourne has selected Geordie Payne.
Overcome in the moment, Geordie Payne lets his family do the celebrating as his name's called first in the mid-season draft.
A lot of different emotions, so I was pretty overwhelmed at the time. It's definitely going to be a bit weird tonight when I pack up, but yeah, I'm just really excited to get over there.
His North kit hand-delivered today by old teammate Colby McKercher.
He gave me a little bit of advice. Just the best exciting thing is that I've always got someone I know to fall back on, so it's a lot more comforting knowing that Colby's going to be there.
The call-up is a huge relief after missing out in November's draft.
Definitely taught me a lesson that I really was so hungry to get there, so I just needed to do extra things and extra work.
And work he has, becoming a force to be reckoned with in the Talent League, averaging 22 disposals and kicking 12 goals in 5 games, but giving it his all, no matter the stage.
The games he played for us, on the field, it was, you can see he had that look in his eye where he wanted to make sure he made the most of every opportunity, every contest.
A switch to the midfield this season, reaping huge rewards for the 18-year-old.
So that was just to show a bit of versatility. Spoke to a few clubs recently and they think that it suits my strengths. That position change has actually suited me.
Geordie will make his debut for North in the VFL Saturday next week. The advice from Roo's coaching staff has been to keep up exactly what he's been doing for the Devils, but perhaps an allegiance shift is also on the cards.
I go down and watch North a little bit in Hobart, but I'm actually a Hawthorn supporter. So yeah, I might have to change to North Melbourne now.
Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News.
A statewide gun amnesty drive encouraging people to hand in illegal or unwanted firearms is underway. 14 locations will be set up across the state over the next 3 days, and police are urging those carrying spare gun parts, ammunition or gel blasters to hand them in.
We understand the impacts that illicit firearms have within Tasmania, and if they are illegal, they're most likely not stored correctly, so they are at risk of getting into the wrong hands.
I was just cleaning out Dad's house.
Anyone able to attend the amnesty in person can contact police to have the items collected. Tasmania Police is once again urging drivers to drive safely, especially during bad weather. It comes after a close call in Franklin last week, a Ford Falcon ute rolling over and crashing on the Huon Highway. Authorities releasing this dash cam vision of the car allegedly attempting to overtake in wet conditions. Incredibly, no one was injured, but Tasmania Police say provisional drivers continue to be overrepresented in serious and fatal crashes. A Tasmanian building company is lending a hand, providing vital maintenance at Colony 47's Mara House in Hobart. The assistance supporting young women experiencing homelessness.
Local tradies putting their tools to use, making a house a home for some of Tasmania's most vulnerable young people. One of Colony 47's emergency youth shelters being spruced up.
It's really important for us that we make sure that these houses are a real homely environment.
Tradies providing on-ground support, fixing and enhancing safety and comfort for the young women aged 13 to 20 living in Mara House.
There were some things that we needed to provide some upkeep and some improvements to the home, and we've certainly got the skills and experience to do that.
A roof over young people's head now considered more important than ever, as the state's housing crisis continues to place pressure on Tasmanians struggling with homelessness and housing affordability, often leaving hundreds each night sleeping rough and with no safe place to live.
They might be couch surfing temporarily on the street or in centres like ours.
A house also more than just a roof over the head for these women, but a place to call home.
Actually making sure that the places that we put them in give them some dignity, make them feel house proud, make them feel that they can come home and feel safe.
Young tradies also using it as a beacon of hope for girls wanting to get into trade.
Especially those girls that potentially when they leave this place, that's an opportunity that they can have when they get older. So I like to show that for them as well.
Rebecca Gaidaneris at 7 Tasmania News.
Launceston's iconic clock has gone quiet, at least for now. The CBD timepiece usually chimes every 15 minutes, but is stuck at 12 o'clock while it undergoes routine maintenance. The council says it will be back up and running in the next few days. Until then, it will be right twice a day at least. Tasmania police officers will be trading their uniforms for Lycra this weekend for a major fundraising effort. Around 100 riders are signed up to take on the early winter chill, raising funds for Downs Syndrome Tasmania. This year, the Trust has a lofty goal.
We want to top over $100,000, and if we do, that'll mean we've raised over $1 million for various charities since 2007.
The ride leaves Prospect at 7:30 on Saturday morning. Launceston residents woke under a blanket of thick fog this morning, causing some headaches for drivers during the morning commute. Visibility was reduced to just metres in parts of the city, prompting a reminder from police to drive to the conditions.
in foggy conditions, slow down, try and be as visible as you can by having your lights on when you're driving in inclement weather.
The fog lifted by mid-morning. More than a year on from a devastating blaze in one of its workshops, the Don River Railway is on track for bigger and better things. Its custodians have been busy rebuilding and are keen to push the operation even further.
April 4, 2023 is a date etched in Eamon Seddon's memory. Fire ripping through Don River Railway's workshop, the flames so ferocious the scars can still be seen more than a year later.
To see this damage and the damage that was done 13 months ago was soul destroying.
The group's been working with its insurance company for more than a year, also spending months combing through the wreckage. But some of what was lost can never be replaced.
Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot we could save, and we've lost as a consequence some stores that were over 100 years old.
Locals and tourists alike are still keen to support the iconic Northwest attraction.
People pulled together. The outcry from the public was immense and so heartening.
Forging ahead, the railway has big plans for a new workshop and wants to expand its services to the main line.
Ultimately, we'd love to see the Don River Railway running out from Penguin right through to wherever.
But to keep chugging along, the group needs more volunteers.
It does become like family. It's even if you've got a day off and you pop in, you can always sit down and have a cup of tea or a talk to whoever's behind the counter.
Proving this organisation is far from running out of steam.
It was a real kick in the guts for a lot of people, but as I say, the phoenix will arise from the ashes.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
The Tasmanian Cat Shelter is calling for more volunteers as it prepares to open its 4th op shop. Hobart-based 10 Lives says without its stores it wouldn't be able to continue looking after unwanted cats and kittens.
10 Lives are very reliant on the funding of op shops to raise all the money to look after the hundreds and thousands of cats that we care for.
Volunteering is such a great thing to do. It's rewarding, it's great to give back to the community, but also we get to play with cats.
The new Moona store is due to open next month.
Talk about contrast in an uphill battle in the TSL. The winless Demons have to face the undefeated Northern Bombers on Saturday. Glimmers of hope last weekend, a positive side for the North Hobart coach.
Really focused on improvement, just looking for the little wins, looking to improve from session to session.
To be undefeated still, that's a bonus. What do they say? Bank some wins early is really important. I think for us now it's just about our process of getting through this middle part of the season.
No shortage of roos stepping up when needed is of comfort to their coach as they look to continue a strong run against Launceston.
Just to see the growth in Oscar Popotny, Tyson Henslow coming back and having a stellar season after the injuries he's had, Jack Preshaw and Keegan Ryan coming in through the middle part.
The Roos are hopeful of getting Jack Rewalt back for another game. They just don't know when, needing to work around commentary commitments. Some of Tassie's best footballers come up against each other this weekend in the 3rd All-Star Series. It kicks off with the Northwesterners taking on the NTFA women at Penguins Dial Park on Sunday. There'll be fresh faces amongst the latter, a few injuries and pregnancies ruling out some of the experienced players.
Some real quality girls, but that doesn't mean that I don't have faith that we're still going to produce just as good a football as we had last year.
Our side is fast, it's skillful. I suppose it's the best level of footy that you can play in Tassie, and it only comes around once a year.
Back-to-back All-Stars champions SFL come into play the following weekend. 2 years into his boxing career, Launceston's Dan the Engine Hill moves to 6-1 after a TKO win in the penultimate round of last night's Premier Boxing Series main event on the Gold Coast. Hill landing a few blows on the already unsteady Tycoon Kim before the ref called it off. It puts him 2 from 2 in the series. And there's hope on the horizon after missing last year's through injury. Launceston weightlifter Seth Fox is heading to his first national championships. Ranked number 1 in the under-20s, he's also qualified for the under-23 division, where he hopes to give them a run for their money.
It'll definitely push me and definitely sort of get me wanting to put some bigger numbers up, but just there to enjoy myself and have a good time mainly.
It's also a first crack at nationals for Bridget Martin. A plumber by trade, she's only been weightlifting for 2 years after being spotted on a job site by Olympian Ron Laycock.
I'm training up around the 91.10 mark. I haven't done that in comp yet, so I'm really looking forward to try and get those numbers on in a competition.
Still plenty of work to do. Success in Perth next week will book them a trip to the World Championships in Fiji. Sounds like a pretty good reward if you ask me, Kim.
Yeah, what a great story, Nick. You might be scouted next. Well, Kai Wicks will join us after the break with a weather forecast.
Good evening. Hobart 21, the state's top, along with Flinders Island, Grove, Friendly Beaches and Bushy Park. Launceston 19 after some thick early morning fog. 18 the top for Devonport and Burnie 17. Further out we saw 20 recorded in St Helens, 19 the top for Maria Island, King Island and Strawn, Smithton and Low Head 18. Lyweni only 10 degrees after an overnight low of 7. The satellite shows extensive cloud which covered the state today. A northwest cloud band is spanning the interior of the country as it pushes over the southeast of Tasmania. Tomorrow, a cold front will move towards the east of the state as the low pressure system passes the state's south. Northwesterly winds 20 to 30 knots, reaching 40 knots about the west, with west to northwesterly swells building up to 8 metres in the west and 6 in the south. Now, a severe weather warning has been issued for damaging winds for the entire state tomorrow. Now, with that comes a storm force wind warning for the southwest coast and a gale warning for all coastal waters and inland lakes. There is also a warning for sheep graziers in the southeast and a minor flood warning for the lower North Esk River. Windy and showers expected for Hobart and Campania tomorrow, 16. Showers increasing in Huonville, 15. Wet and windy in the north, Launceston 15, Devonport 16, and a very cool 13 in Georgetown. Now, much the same for the west at Burnie and Wynyard, both 15, 13 the maximum for Strawn. St Helens, showery, 15, partly cloudy for Swansea, 16. One up in Port Arthur, although remaining wet, 17's the top there. Saturday, light showers clearing from the west and far south, otherwise fine after patches of morning frost and fog. Sunday, fine conditions with patchy morning frost. Monday, fine until showers develop about the east and south during the day. We'll take a quick sticky peek now at mainland conditions tomorrow. A lovely 33 degrees for Darwin with cloud clearing. 16 and rain on the way for Canberra, a shower or 2 for Brisbane, 25. Cloudy in Melbourne, 17's the top there. Partly cloudy right now in Hobart on the remaining warm with 19 degrees. Raining in Launceston, 15, also 15 in Devonport. And I hope the rain extends to those who need it, Kim, as we approach the very last day of autumn tomorrow.
Have to agree. And that wraps up tonight's bulletin. Stay dry and stay safe, everyone. Good night.